Not slowly, not gradually, not the way age takes a face over decades, all at once, like a beautiful lie that had finally run out of time. The woman they knew on Monday was gone by Sunday. What they found in that bedroom instead, they could not explain it. They just ran. The mansion on Banana Island sat empty after that. Nobody would enter it. Not buyers, not tenants, not even the most desperate squatter in all of Lagos. Because the mirror in the master bedroom was still there, and everyone who stood close enough to it said the same thing, that when you looked into it, you did not see your own reflection. You saw something looking back at you from the other side. Something old, something hungry, something that had been waiting for a very long time. Her name was Adana, and 6 months ago she was the most beautiful woman in Lagos. Before we go deeper into this story, subscribe to Tales by Eniola right now. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me where in the world you are watching from. We have people watching from Lagos, London, Toronto, Houston and beyond, and I want to know where you are. Now, let us go all the way back to where this started. Because Adanna's story did not begin in that Banana Island mansion. It began in a one-room apartment in Mushin with a woman who was tired of being poor. Adanna grew up watching her mother stretch 20 naira into 3 meals. She grew up wearing the same uniform to school until the collar had faded to something that no longer had a name. She grew up watching the girls whose fathers had money arrive at school in cars while she walked 45 minutes in the Lagos sun. She did not hate those girls. She studied them. She watched how they moved and how they spoke and what they wore, and she told herself every single night before she closed her eyes, one day, that will be me. She was 22 when she moved to Lagos from Enugu with 6,000 naira and one bag. She was 23 when she got a job as a receptionist at a hotel on Victoria Island. She was 24 when she realized that the job would never give her what she wanted. The numbers simply did not add up. The salary could pay her rent and feed her, and that was it. The life she wanted, the car, the apartment, the clothes, the freedom, was a different mathematics entirely. She was 25 when she met Pastor Emmanuel. He was not a real pastor, but he had a church. And in Lagos, a man with a church and a suit and a confident voice can become anything he wants to be. Pastor Emmanuel's church met in a rented hall in Lekki every Sunday, and he preached prosperity with the conviction of someone who had already collected his own. He wore white agbada. He drove a black Range Rover. He had the eyes of a man who understood exactly what desperate people needed to hear. He noticed Adanna the first Sunday she visited. She sat in the 3rd row, and she listened with the focused attention of someone who was not there for God. She was there for instructions. After the service, he called her to his office. He sat across from her behind a big desk and looked at her for a long time without speaking. Then he said, "I can see what you want, and I can give it to you. But you need to understand that everything has a price. And the price for the kind of life you are asking for is not money." Adanna asked, "Then what is it?" He smiled. He opened a drawer. He placed a small hand mirror on the desk between them. The frame was old, black metal, the kind of old that has no age, just old. He said, "This mirror, you will take it home. Every month on the last day of the month, you will speak your name into it 3 times before midnight. Your face will appear in the mirror, your true face. And you must apply your makeup to the reflection, not to your actual face. Then, before sunrise, You must bring a man to your home and sleep with him. His life energy will feed what is inside the mirror, and in return, the mirror will keep you. It will keep you young. It will keep you beautiful. It will keep you powerful. You will have everything you want. The money will come. The opportunities will come. The life will come. Adana looked at the mirror. She looked at him. She asked, "And if I stop?" The smile left his face. He said, "Do not stop." She took the mirror home. Within 3 months, Adana's life changed in ways that made even her own head spin. A man she met at a work event offered her a job in his company at 4 times her salary. A week later, he offered her an apartment on the island to go with it. She was not stupid. She understood exactly what these men wanted, and she gave them enough to keep them interested while keeping what mattered to herself. But she was smart about it. She was always in control. Always. By the time she was 27, Adana had moved into a 3-bedroom apartment in Ikoyi. By 28, she had a car. By 29, she had an investment portfolio that her accountant called conservative but impressive. By 30, she had the Banana Island mansion. And every month on the last day of the month, without fail, she sat before the mirror in her bedroom with the lights off. She spoke her name 3 times into the glass. And in the reflection, instead of her own face, she saw the other one, the true one, old, hollow. A face that belonged to something that had made a transaction and was waiting patiently to collect. She would apply her makeup carefully to that reflection. Foundation, contour, highlighter. Each product applied to glass, renewing what she was on the outside. And then before sunrise, there was always a man. She made sure of it. She had a system, a rotation. None of them knew about the others. None of them stayed long enough to notice anything. They would arrive, they would leave, and Adana would wake up looking exactly as she needed to look for another month. She had been doing this for 5 years when she met Kola. Kola was different from the others in one specific way. He was not overwhelmed by her. Most men who came into Adana's orbit became slightly dazed by her. They agreed to things quickly. They made decisions without thinking. Kola came for dinner and looked at her apartment with curiosity instead of awe, and asked questions that were too specific to be polite small talk. He asked about the mirror. It was the first thing he noticed when he came in. He stood in the doorway of her bedroom, where she had left the door open, and he looked at the mirror against the wall, and he said, "That is a strange piece." Adana felt something move in her chest that she had not felt in a long time. Not attraction, something closer to alarm. She said, "It is antique, a gift." Kola nodded slowly. He did not stop looking at it for just a second too long. Then he turned and smiled, and the evening continued.
He was the one she chose for the month end. She needed someone, and her usual rotation had become complicated. She called him on the 29th. He agreed to come over on the 31st. He sounded warm and easy and uncomplicated on the phone. He did not come. 11:15 at night on the 31st of the month, Adana's phone showed 2 missed calls from Kola and 1 text message that said, "So sorry, something came up at home. Can we reschedule for next week?" She stared at the message for a very long time. Then she looked at the clock. 11:15. Less than 45 minutes to midnight. And no man in the house. She called 3 other numbers. 1 did not pick. 1 was in Abuja. One said he would come, but she could hear in his voice that he would not make it before midnight, and she was right. At 12:01 she sat alone before the mirror and spoke her name 3 times. The reflection that looked back at her was not the old face she was used to. It was her own face. But something was wrong with it. Around the edges. Like the signal on a bad television. Like something was losing its hold. She pressed her palms against her cheeks. Smooth. She exhaled. Maybe nothing. Maybe it was fine. She was wrong. The first sign came the next morning. A line. Not deep. Not obvious. But on a face that had not had a single line in 5 years, it was impossible to miss. She stood before the mirror for 20 minutes looking at it. Then she called Kola, and her voice was perfectly calm, and she told him she needed to see him that night. He had meetings. He rescheduled to Thursday. By Thursday there were 3 lines. And something at the corner of her left eye that she could not explain. She cancelled Kola. She could not let him see her like this. She called her accountant and told him she needed a large cash transfer immediately. She drove to Lekki to find Pastor Emmanuel. The hall where his church met was empty. The landlord said he had not been seen in 2 months. The Range Rover was gone. The phone number she had for him ran out. She drove back to Banana Island alone. By Saturday she was wearing a face cap and sunglasses inside her own house. Not for vanity. Because the 2 people on her staff kept looking at her with an expression she could not bear to see. By Sunday morning she dismissed both of them. Sent them home with a week's pay and told them not to come back until she called. She never called. On Sunday evening she sat before the mirror one final time. She did not speak her name. She just looked. The face in the mirror looked back at her. The true face. And it smiled. Slowly. The way something smiles when it has finally collected what was owed. On Monday morning the domestic staff came back to collect something one of them had left. They found the front door open. They found the house silent. They found what was left of Adana in the master bedroom sitting before the mirror. They ran. The Banana Island mansion sits empty to this day. There is a sign outside that has been there for 4 months from an estate agency that does not answer their phone when you call about that particular property. And the mirror is still there. In the master bedroom. Against the wall. Nobody will go in for it. Because everyone who has looked through the window from a safe distance says the same thing. That in the reflection you do not see the empty room behind you. You see a woman sitting at the dressing table, applying her makeup carefully. To a reflection that should not be there. Every transaction has a cost. And the most dangerous agreements are the ones that feel like gifts at the beginning. What would you have done if you were Adana sitting across from Pastor Emmanuel that first day? Would you have taken the mirror? Drop your honest answer in the comments right now. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone tonight. Subscribe to Tales by Eniola below and hit that like button. More powerful African stories are coming every week. Until next time, be careful what you agree to. And be very careful what you take home.